2 months. It depends. I don't like, you know, here at the agency, we are very meticulous in our calculations. And sometimes we see some analysts, NGOs and analysts that come up with calculations, basically, you know, based on what they are assessing without being there. We are there, so we have the very, I would say, heavy responsibility to try to be very precise. And this may vary because sometimes there are technical problems as well with the cascades, and so there is a deceleration, or there is a slowdown, or there is an acceleration. But to give you the idea that it is something that will happen, they will reach a significant quantity. In general, if you take all the material that they have, if you were to put it together, to bundle it together, there is already a significant quantity. Give and take a little bit, because you may lose a bit of material in the process, but more or less. And since they are continuing with the process, well, then it's a matter of just a few weeks, let's say. Let's put it like that.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hosein Abdolahian. I would like to ask about your visit to Israel.
Yes.
Go back to the visit. If you can walk us through the details, what have you talked to them about, that they haven't signed the NPT, that this makes it not, they don't have the right to talk or to make such big noise since they are not really part of this agreement?
Yes.
This is one thing. The second thing is a technical question about, is members obliged to not to enrich uranium since they are doing it under the supervision of the agency and the inspectors are there? If it is not a secret thing, their activities is not.
You mean in Iran, the enrichment? No, it's not a secret.
In general, but
it's not
Iran,
a secret.
of course, is in my mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, that's not. First, to start with, if I understood correctly what you wanted to know, the enrichment activities that are taking place in Iran, we are aware of. We are following them. We are inspecting them. This is how we can say how much material for the different isotopic concentrations is. Okay, so that is one thing. On the issue of Israel, you know, it's very important. As the Director General of the IAEA, I talk to everybody. I must. So I cannot talk to some and not to others. It's the same thing that I'm doing with Ukraine, and it's the same thing that I'm doing here. On the contrary, one would say that it's very, very important that the head of an international organization has an opportunity to talk to those that are that have a special interest or that are saying important things about it and could influence one way or the other. So this is why I was there to say, let the IAEA work, the inspection work can yield good results if we have the access that we need from Iran. And this, for me, has a tremendous value, a positive value, in the sense that what I am protecting here is the ability to continue my work without any external factors that could affect it. So I feel it is really my responsibility to do that.
So you talked to them about Iran, but what about them themselves, about that is Israel to allow inspections in its lands, in this?
As you know, I would, and I think I said it in my public communications about this, I believe that every country should sign the NPT, including Israel, and have all the nuclear facilities and installations under the safeguards of the IAEA, all right? So I don't have a power to force a country to do something. Israel is one of the few countries in the world, as you know, but it's not the only one. There are other important countries that have chosen not to sign the NPT, all right? So they are part of that, they are in that group. Still, I think it was important that my message would be clear in this sense, that for me it would be very, very important. I don't think I can add anything else, frankly. It is important that the voice of the agency is heard everywhere.
Thank you very much. We can take a couple of more.
Yes, thank you. I have a question about the report regarding the open questions with Iran. In the report and also in previous reports, it was spelled out that one of the open questions regards a neutron detector and the possible presence of neutrons at one of the sites.
Yeah.
Why did you mention this, or how does this fit into your investigation? I'm asking because in the very few years ago in a report, the IAEA said that basically their conclusion was, or assessment was, that Iran had worked on elements of a nuclear weapons program. So how does a neutron detector fit into that?
Well, it is related to that. We have information, and subsequent to getting that information, which was not present at the time where the agency had that assessment, uranium particles were found at the place. So everything is part of a mosaic, if you want, that lead us to put certain questions. And the fact of the matter is that when you look at it, it is obvious that when the agency normally has an impression that there is something to be asked, then the facts prove that we were aiming more or less right, because we found these particles in this particular place. And something else, which is also a recurrent issue. We have assessments that correspond to the information we have at a certain moment. The agency never closes anything forever. If there is more information arriving and we look at it and we see that it's relevant, for example, in this case, which applies to Marivan, then we ask more questions on the basis of this information we have.
But can you say how a neutron detector, why that would be concerning for an agency looking for a possible diversion for non-peaceful purposes?
Well, as you know, these systems are relevant for non-peaceful purposes.
Hi, this is Nippon Television Network. Actually, I want to ask 2 questions.
Yes.
Can I do that?
Yes, you can.
Okay. One is about the Ukraine. You mentioned about the appeal from the president of the Ukraine that he's appealing to UN and to you
Yes.
to do that. Now that does that sort of change the character or the members constellation of the mission?
Mm-hmm.
Because now it's more like a multinational.
I understand.
Yeah. So can you clarify if
Yeah.
that changes? And question number 2 is the treaty, first treaty conference of the nuclear ban
Yes.
treaty is taking place at the end of this month. Is IAEA going to have anybody representing? Thank you.
Well, on the first question, or the second, sorry, this conference is a conference on a treaty which deals with something different than what is in my mandate, right? So we all recognize the importance of global nuclear disarmament, which I think is a goal that the international community as such has embraced, and it is present in the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. So most probably we will have a representative there as an observer to follow that. But we don't have a formal role in that process. And the first part was, sorry?
About how that's going to change if the UN gets involved.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me for that. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Of course, I must say that whatever we would do at Zaporizhzhia is something that the agency alone is going to be doing when it comes to safeguards or safety or security activities. This is part of our legal relationship with Ukraine. So we cannot invite others, third parties too. But there has been some discussion. I cannot reveal everything because I'm still in the process of consulting with Ukraine and also Russia, that there could be some international presence to add on to the team going there. I would kindly ask you to excuse me because we are in the middle of a negotiation about that. But what I want to assure you is that whatever we are going to be doing there would be exclusively carried out by our inspectors, and there is a lot that would need to be done. Now, what we are trying to do is we are looking at what we call the modalities. What are the modalities? Who comes? Who is there? How we do it? There is, of course, as you know, this facility is in a relatively unstable, not to say directly dangerous territory, because it's quite close to the theater of operations at the moment. So in order for me and for my technical experts to reach the place, we need the UN involvement, and Secretary General Guterres has been following that. I'm very grateful to him because we are in regular contact, and he is providing support with armored vehicles and other things. So I hope to be able to report positive news in the next few days about that. Thank you.
And one final question.
Yes, sorry, just to follow up on Israel. Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz recently talked about facilities being built underground abutting Natanz. I'm just wondering if you could tell us what...
Well, this is, I don't know about what Minister Gantz said, but this is no secret. As you know, the then president of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, Dr. Salehi, himself informed that Iran was going to build more underground facilities to install some centrifuges, basically, or some other things. So we know that this work is ongoing. So it's nothing new.
Okay, so this is the tunneling sort of in the hills near Natanz that had been reported. So abutting is a bit of an exaggeration. It's a little slight.
I don't want to comment on what he's had to say, but the reality is that yes, there is work and this that.
Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Sinners are much more fun. You know that only the good die young. Oh, baby. I tell you, only the good die young. Only the good die young. Said your mother told me all that I could give you was a reputation.
over you.